Hello everybody and welcome to Luxuriously Poor. I hope you'll subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Today I'm going to show you how to make chorizo without a meat grinder, the old-fashioned way. Now, this is chorizo. This recipe came from an elderly woman that I knew that lived in Mexico. She made her own chorizo all the time. Now, this is a little bit pricey to me. I probably would have waited till it was on sale or something. But my son had asked me about, what would I like from the store? And I said, yeah, just get me a little bit of chorizo. He brought this home and said, Mom, you can make your own. And I was like, okay, fine, that's what I'll do. So I'm going to show you how to chop this up and cut this in small pieces and make your own chorizo without a meat grinder. Now we're going to start with guajillo chiles. This is the chili of Mexico. This is where they're famous for it because that's what they have. They do not have a New Mexico chili. But if you can't find this, any red long chili will do, except for maybe there's a small chili. You don't want like a Japanese. Those things are just way too hot and they don't work for this. You want something about this size. And chili de árbol, you don't want to use that. I mean, you could add some of that if you want it to be really hot and spicy, but I don't want that. So we're going to put 8 of these in a pot of water and just shake out the seeds. That's all you need to do. I'm going to show you the spices that you're going to need, and they're simple and probably things you already have on hand. Okay, this is what's called a head of garlic. This would be the whole head. Now, I know most of you know this, but there might be some people who don't, and they really would like to try this, and they may become confused. This is what they would call a clove of garlic. Now, I'm going to put 3 cloves of garlic in this. Now, this is oregano, and I just kind of put what my fingertips could hold, maybe a little bit more. I'm going to rub this finer, because I'm going to blend it in with that red chili you saw. And so a pinch will do. And then these 3 cloves of garlic. And then I have paprika. You see that? Now what I'm going to do is just a teaspoon of it. I'm going to put just 1 teaspoon of paprika. Now I got about, 5-6 pounds of meat here. I'm going to put this paprika in there. You see? That. And then I'm going to put a couple of spoons of salt. This does not require a whole lot of spices. It doesn't. The meat speaks for itself. I'm going to put, my nutter butter is a salt freak, so I'm going to put a couple of teaspoons of salt. You put what you like. This will go on the red chili when the red chili is done. Right now it's boiling. But in the meantime, we're going to get to work on cutting up our meat for this chorizo. Okay, I have 2 knives here. I have this one. And I'm going to start off with different knives because I'm going to cut this up first in small pieces. Now, no, I'm not going to use a meat grinder. Many years ago, there was a Hispanic woman that used to make chorizo herself, and she did not have a meat grinder. And that shocked me, but she made her chorizo by cutting the meat herself. And I'm going to kind of show you how to do that. So we're going to start off, and don't worry, the pieces are going to get smaller and smaller. But first, let me get all this cut off the bone. Now, if you don't have what I did, you can use a knife. And this will chop this up just like it's hamburger meat. You see that? You see? This is good. This chops is just as good as any chopper, unless you've got a $300 or $400 chopper. I couldn't afford one of those. No way. So this works for me just as good. This is like hamburger meat. It is. My Nutter Butter is filing on my hatchet. But this is how you're going to do it. Now what I want you to see here is, look, when you're chopping this, flip it over, flip it, and then start chopping again. Flip it like this. You see that? You're flipping it. And you're doing it again. And you're flipping it. And this creates your chopped hamburger meat. Now, look, if you've got a meat grinder and you want to use it, feel free to. Why not? But what happens if there's no electricity? It's a good thing to know how to do it all. What if somebody is killing a pig one day, slaps a piece of pork on you, and says, here, your meat grinder is no longer working and you have never been able to afford a new one? Because that's what it's coming to. You may have it today, but you won't be able to replace it in a couple of years because you won't have the money to. That's where they're heading us towards. They're heading us towards, you're going to have to depend on them, even for fake meat that will swell your arteries, swell your body, because it's made from oils that we have been told are toxic to our bodies. So, I'm just saying, this is the way to do it. Build some strong muscles in them arms. Okay? Now I'm going to have a whole lot more meat here to do. So we'll come back after I get it done. Okay, I'm going to start off here by putting a couple of tablespoons of vinegar in this. And I'll show you the tablespoon in just a second. I put 2 of these. Okay, now I'm going to now add, remember my bowl with all the spices, garlic, oregano, all of that happy stuff. And then I'm going to put the guajillo chiles in this blender. Now I'm not going to be able to leave this on because it makes far too much noise. Okay? I'm going to add some of the liquid from where I washed them. Or, shouldn't say washed them. Cooked them. Okay? Now I'm going to blend this all together. Okay, here's my ground meat. And now you may be saying to yourself, well, wait a minute. She just blended her chilies in a blender? True. And that requires electricity? True. And you may be saying, well, if you do that, why don't you do the meat? Well, I have a backup. Now, see, most people don't know how to grind their own meat. I could take this right now and turn this into sausage, breakfast sausage. Don't need a grinder at all. I turned this into chorizo without a grinder, and I have what they call a molcajete. That's right over there. You see that in that corner? I can take that and make this chili right here, if I had to. You see what I'm saying? And so now I'm going to blend this in, just like this, into my ground up chorizo, or pork meat I should say. Let me get this all blended in here, okay? Okay, you need to put this meat into the refrigerator overnight. It has to rest overnight so that the spices and the chili colorado get blended into it, so that when you cook it, it has taken on the flavor of the spices. If you feel you need to add anything to it when you cook it and you taste it, you can go back to the bowl and add whatever you think that is missing. I personally don't think this is missing anything. But if you think it is yours, then you can go back and add to it. I have some eggs here, and put some pepper, and put a little bit of salt. Okay? However many eggs you want to put, for whoever you're cooking for, that is completely up to you. Now, over here, I have a pan, and I am adding a little bit of lard to it, because I'm going to cook eggs in this, and so I'm going to need that extra fat, and then I'm going to put my chorizo right in here, and we're going to get this going. Delicious. This ain't cricket meat, okay? This is real meat. Let's get this browned up, and then we'll make our eggs. Look at that. The smell is awesome. Look at how ground up that is, okay, folks? Doesn't that remind you of hamburger meat? This is real chorizo. This is what real chorizo should look like. Not that mess that God only knows what they're putting in it, because when you finish, you don't see any meat, really. You just see a big blob of red in the bottom of your skillet. And you're asking yourself, what did they make this out of? The snout of the pig? Or is it the tail of the pig? Who knows? But real chorizo, this is what it looks like. Yes, yummy. And this was chopped by hand. So yes, you can chop your own meat up, hamburger meat, chorizo, sausage, anything you want. Now, because it's pork, I'm going to give it a little bit longer to cook, and then I'm going to add my eggs. I had to move this to a bigger skillet simply because when I add all the eggs and everything, I realized it was not going to fit in that small skillet. So I moved it over here into a bigger skillet. Now let me tell you, you go to a restaurant, you ain't going to get real chorizo like this. At least I haven't seen it, not in my area. Now you might get it if you were in a Hispanic home in Mexico, because way out in the hills, way away from the city, they make their own. And it's delicious. Now, this is how you make egg and chorizo burritos. I'm going to finish this up and make burritos.
Estos cuchillos están, pero al último no. Teníamos años con
Okay, everybody, how's the chorizo on the burritos? How's it taste?
Good, good.
How much? You speak louder.
Good, good.
Delicious. And I mean delicious.